former President Jacob Zuma and his 15-month jail term, it lapses in October, so the decision by the Supreme Court of Appeal could see him return to the Estcourt correctional facility. Zuma was incarcerated after defying a constitutional court order to appear before the state capture inquiry.
Yeah, yesterday the appeals court heard arguments for and against the decision by Arthur Fraser to grant Zuma medical parole, overturning the decision by the medical board or the medical parole advisory board. He served only 2 months of his sentence. Newzroom Afrika's politics reporter Ziyanda Ngcobo has more from Bloemfontein.
Correctional Services has had to defend its former commissioner, Arthur Fraser, and whether he acted rationally and passed the test when granting medical parole to former President Jacob Zuma. The test, an inmate either has to be physically incapacitated or terminally ill.
One, the doctors that examined Mr. Zuma are the ones that are recommending that he be placed on parole. Those that examined it. And none of those that examined Mr. Zuma, are recommending that he be placed. They're not even saying he's not terminally ill. They're saying the condition is stable.
But the Helen Suzman Foundation, which wants the time that Zuma has spent on medical parole to be excluded from his overall jail sentence, disagrees.
Even then, as I say, if he had that power, there's a further and final fatal failure by him. He abused it. He abused it because he didn't apply the right test for medical parole. The first jurisdictional fact is that the inmate has a terminal illness or severe physical incapacity. But in that regard, the board's decision, its report of 2 September, is conclusive. Mr. Zuma was not the offender envisaged in Section 79(1)A.
Our position, Justices, and some of what I have to say may be water under the bridge by now, Justice Plaskett. But our position is that if you are with us on our principle, the DA's principal contention, which is that absent a positive recommendation by the Medical Parole Board, the National Commission had no power as a jurisdictional, as a result of there being an absence of an objectively determinable jurisdictional requirement as per Kimberley Junior School. If you're with us on that point, that's the end of this appeal.
Justices of the court also wanted to know how Fraser reached his decision when there are redacted parts in the medical report.
The information that has been scratched out with a Koki pen is the very information that goes to the heart of the decision that has to be taken. So how are we to know whether the jurisdictional fact, the first jurisdictional fact, is present if we can't see the reports? We have no idea, no way of knowing whether the Commissioner exercised his discretion properly. In other words, the problem looked at from the other side is that he has a great deal of difficulty in justifying his exercise of power. It's not good enough to say, trust me, I looked at everything and I took this decision and it's the correct decision. Review doesn't work that way.
Advocate Mpofu, who argued for Zuma, defended concealing parts of the medical reports.
We're dealing here with a former head of state. So his medical records, by definition, are classified.
The judgment from the 5 justices of this court will be the determining factor for whether or not former President Jacob Zuma returns to prison. His lawyers have argued that discounting the time that he spent out on medical parole from his overall 15-month jail sentence would be a travesty of justice. Judgment has been reserved. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Ziyanda Ngcobo in Bloemfontein.